Hey everybody, that is Gary Smith, that is Kaz Kenny, and I am Eddie Bramble, and this is episode 9 of the Blackwaters Edge podcast. Kaz, why don't you start us off with this week's fishing report?
All right, folks, it's been a little slow, but some people have been on fire. So let's talk about what we've been seeing. 335 bridge, on the 30th, a bunch of us got together. We went out there and sat on the bridge. We didn't catch anything other than a few catfish, but damn it if we didn't have a good time. So it was a little slow for us that day. I did see a 36-inch rockfish caught, and it was huge, and it was fat, and it was swollen. Snakeheads were rolling everywhere in front of us. Couldn't get them. Dixon hooked up with one. I hooked up with a giant. Both of them we broke off. So,
I heard that from a lot of people this week. They said snakeheads were rolling everywhere, just couldn't get them to hook up on anything.
It was ridiculous, man. And then, let's talk about the perch fishing. We got guys there at Key Wallace that are trying the white perch, which is a spot that's usually producing right now. And I can tell you right now, everybody I have talked to has yet to see a white perch at Key Wallace, period. Let's talk about the perch fishing. We said that's been pretty. Here's the other thing, yellow perch. So I do want to talk about that. This is kind of scary. I know for myself, and there's a couple handful of us have done it every year consistently now. We're going on 10, 15 years doing it. Chris Meister being one of them, good friend of mine, and he can back me up on this. The 335 area has always been a great place for yellow perch, and we have just literally watched them disappear the last 5 years. And I've fished there now 3 times, top and bottom rigs, minnows, nothing. Some small catfish, that's it. That's kind of scary. All right, so over the Transquaking, I'm hearing about a couple crappie around the brush piles. Again, there's just no numbers, and we're going to talk about that today. There's just a lot of stuff going on. Me and Damien and Badger went out yesterday, and we explored a little bit. We went perch fishing, looking for perch. Again, having a hard time finding them. Not saying they ain't there, but they ain't there like they should be when we like, you know what I mean? It's all about that. I know that Butch Huber, he caught some fish on December 25th. I think he got some bait from the bait boys out there. Eric, I hope I say the name right, Wider, and Summer Lynn, they got into some good fishing a couple days here. Up the bay, I'm hearing some stuff up the bay about yellow perch. Susquehanna's starting to pick up. Severn's starting to pick up. Magathy's starting to pick up. So thank God you guys still got some yellow perch up there to catch. The Sassafras, the Bohemia, the Elk, the Northeast, same thing. Yellow perch rolling in the rivers, catching a few crappie. Some nice bass. Let's see what else we got. Brandon Shores, I heard of some really nice white perch being caught up here at Brandon Shores and some big rockfish. Here's a place that I haven't fished in a long time. I was talking to a fellow the other day about Peach Bottom up in Pennsylvania, the warm water discharge. So them fellows up there are talking about catching some nice muskies up there right now. They're catching some walleye. They're catching some stripers, catching a mixed bag of pretty much everything. And I remember back in the day, the thing I liked about it was, man, you caught some giant largemouth and giant smallmouth on them rocks up there fishing. So that's where I am with the fishing report pretty much overall. The Chickamauga, I'm hearing a few crappie under the bridge, some bass, snakeheads. Most everybody I'm talking to, if they're catching anything, seems to be the word snakehead more than anything. So we are catching other fish, but that seems to be the biggest thing that we're hearing. So that's where I'm with the fishing report this week. If anybody has anything for next week they want to talk about, hey, send me some PMs through the week, and I'll be happy to report what you see.
So this week we have Justin Aaron. Justin is the largest commercial fisherman in the Blackwater Complex. Justin, why don't you tell us a little bit about your history there?
My name's Justin Aaron. I'm 38. I've been fishing the river probably 20 years. Just seen that river the snakeheads pretty much taking over everything, eating everything up. It's really, really bad. They're just wiping all the fish out in that river. It's a shame, but just the decline. Every year you see a bit decline every year, a different kind of species of fish.
So how did you get into being a commercial waterman?
My family, pretty much, kind of family through the genes of family and stuff, and grandfather and stuff taught me how to set the traps and set up everything to catch fish, and just kind of went on from there.
So before snakeheads really came around here, what was your largest product you were harvesting?
Mostly mud shad. Caught a lot of mud shad, a lot of crappie and a lot of bluegills over the years. But like you said, the snakeheads are just come in there and just destroyed all the little fish, and it's a shame.
It really is.
Them rivers are hurting.
We were talking a little earlier about some things before we start getting into some questions. Let's just talk about some species. You want to talk about some of that? Is that what we want to do? Okay, so let's talk about first bluegill. Okay, and I know what I seen 10 years ago. You know what we've seen 10 years ago. You know what we've seen 5 years ago. You know what we saw 3 years ago. We still saw a few here. Talk a little bit about bluegill. What have you seen with the bluegill numbers? I know you see it firsthand. So.
Yeah, the first years I went up that river, it was a lot of bluegills. I could catch like 700-800 pound of bluegills some days, and it's just the last 5 years it's really gone. Last couple years has really been bad. I mean, you might catch 20 or 30 pound a day compared to like 700 or 800 when I first started up that river. But they've wiped the bluegills out, the snakeheads, because sometimes I put them in the floor and they're spitting up the fish in the floor, and it's crazy, pieces of them and stuff.
God, I wish we had some pictures of that, man. All the snakeheads throwing up all the panfish.
They throw up all the fish.
Yeah.
So when did you first start seeing snakeheads in the refuge system?
I think it was 2008. I want to say 2007 and 2008. I caught my first one in one of my fish traps, and it was pretty neat. I was like, what is this fish? My mom was actually with me. She was like, what is this fish? She's like, I don't know. I have to look it up. When I went home and looked it up, it was a northern snakehead. I was like, oh my God. And it just gone from there every year, just gone crazy, increased. The numbers have gone.
I got my first. I caught the first 3 in one day, and that was, I've said 100 times, 2009. Mm-hmm. And I think while we're talking about it, Gary, you know of one, it was like 2006, wasn't it, or 2007?
2006 or 7. It's called right down the road from my house in a turtle trap.
Right, and
it was 8 pounds.
And that was not even really, let's say, connected to the Blackwater Complex, because you're on the other side.
It's out to the little chop tank.
Right. So we do have definite confirmation of snakeheads here as early as 2006, and a lot of people originally thinking that we were 2009, 2010.
I think Blackwater, their first recording was in 2011, if I remember right.
I can't remember. I don't know.
Justin, just to be clear for the people listening, you've been doing this for 20 years.
20 years. I've been fishing those rivers for like 20 years.
Pre-Snakehead, your years were pretty constant. I'm sure your levels changed some. But they were pretty constant. The big decline started after the snakeheads. It basically had nothing to do with you trapping.
Nothing me trapping them. It was pretty much the snakeheads, like you said, over the years, just took over pretty much.
And before I forget, blue cats, I want to bring that into this picture because you have been in the refuge for so long.
Yeah.
We don't have a blue cat problem in the refuge.
I don't have no blue cats. I catch a few channels and some of those white cats, but you never hardly regularly see a blue cat in both rivers.
And if I do see them, like down Griffith's Neck or Drawbridge, usually when I see a big fish, it's dead and it's floating. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I want to keep bringing that up because a lot of guys want to keep talking about blue cat.
Yep.
Okay? And I get where you're coming from, but it's not here. You want to talk about it over the Nanacoke. You want to talk about it over other places like that. Yeah, we can discuss that. But
we just don't have the depth here for it. The water just doesn't get deep enough.
It's deep enough for
We got shallow water problems.
Right, exactly.
So yeah, you're right, Gary. We want the public to know that the decline is not a result of commercial fishermen.
Right.
That it's not a decline of blue cats. That realistically, from our standpoint, we believe that the decline is from the snakeheads. Okay.
So how many snakeheads do you think you've caught since they've been introduced into the system?
Oh my God, a lot. If I had to guess, maybe like 40 to 50,000 pound. I mean, so far I've took out.
That's insane.
Some nice size stuff from 6 inches to 20 pound.
What's your average size you think that you see?
I'd say 6 to 8 pound.
6 to 8 pounds.
I mean, if I had to guess, 6 to 8 pound.
What do you think our average largemouth bass that we have left in the refuge is? 3 to 6 pounds?
Yeah, 3 to 6 pound, because you never see no small ones anymore. They've wiped them out too. I mean, it's if you catch a bass in the refuge, it's 3 to 6 pound. I mean, it's a nice sized bass because
for the most part. I mean, I've seen a few under 3, but But you can agree with me that our buck bass, our small bass, our bass that are responsible for making the nest for the females, they're gone.
They're gone. They're history.
Good tournament bass.
Yeah, good largemouth bass tournament.
Right.
So compared to snakeheads, what are the percentages of how much you catch for versus the other species of fish, like your perch and everything else?
I'd say the snakeheads are probably 5 to 1 ratio. 5
really?
Snakeheads.
That many?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I mean, that's
what was it when about 3 years ago?
Oh, it weren't that bad. It was probably 1% or something. Snakeheads.
That's insane.
If they took over, they took a root in that river and it's going. Just exploded. They bloomed, exploded.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm almost speechless.
That is unreal. That is a quick turnaround.
Yeah.
I mean, see, here's the thing. I mean, like I know the DNR, they're doing their thing, but this is a guy who's there. That's
Right,
why we wanted
he's
to
out
have
there
him.
every day.
He's there
Exactly.
every day.
I see it
So
every day.
this is the guy who's most important to the data and some of the information that we're seeking.
So with that being said, what are you catching to help sustain your income levels? Are snakeheads helping?
The snakeheads help some, but the mud shed, it seemed like they stayed. I mean, I don't see no levels for the mud shed like decreasing or increasing. It's kind of pretty much a steady fish there for me. I can kind of make up for
that's when
some of my losses.
when Josh was in here, he was saying the mud shed have stayed. They actually increased from the 06, 07 study.
Oh, dude, like way, I forget what big numbers.
Yeah,
both
big
the carp
increase.
and the shad.
Yeah.
The carp pretty steady number.
So your shad is probably your biggest source of income.
Biggest
anyway.
source of income,
okay.
yeah.
But also like Josh was saying, and both Jimmy, I mean the boom in those two species that we're seeing is a direct result of the loss of the panfish that are responsible and the bass that eat the shad. That.
Yep,
right. Yep,
So as we've lost those fish, that's what has caused the blow up in those two species.
So Rocky Blythe wanted to know. He said, "Have you noticed any major declines in any species of the fish since the snakehead craze began?"
Which one?
So the
first question.
the first question up there.
Oh, okay.
So what are some of the species you've seen major declines in?
A lot of the panfish, like the crappie and the bluegill, really like are most extinct. I mean, they've pretty much wiped them out. So when I first went up that river, when I was first started up that river, probably 20 years ago, it was all the crappie and bluegill, like you pretty much whenever wanted to see.
Big ones too,
Big
man.
ones.
I mean, it just mixes everything.
Now you might catch 10 or 15 fish. I mean, from thousands of fish to 10 or 15 fish.
What about pickerel?
Haven't seen the pickerel up there since I started way back in the day when I first went up there to like lily pads, and it was crazy the pickerel when I first started fishing in that river.
How about now?
Don't see one. I ain't seen one in probably 15 years.
In that crazy?
And that kind of correlates right in there. You know what I mean? And like I told people in 2010 and 2011, I mean, a lot of the snakeheads that I caught up in these branches and the pad areas and the places you're talking, I mean, that was one of the first things I saw them kind of eating at. And I think, in the beginning, I think they were both vying for that same area, and I think that's kind of what was going on. They were fighting each other to get the territory, and eventually what's happened is we know what's happened.
Well, they're both very stealthy ambush predators.
Yes.
Yes.
It seems the lily pads left, the pickerel left. They all kind of.
That's a good correlation.
That's what it kind of seemed like too.
It seemed like it when it lost them lilies, the pickerel were gone. I mean, they left.
No structure for them to hide.
Well, I think to use the word left might not be the word, because I don't think they got pushed out. I think that with time it just was a working over. And again, I mean, losing some of the pads probably has something to do with it too. You know what I mean? So. Mm-hmm.
So Jim Petro, he wanted to know what species. We kind of went over this already. What species of fish have you harvested the most out of the area?
Snakeheads. Snakeheads is my biggest fish in that river. But some mudshad and carp.
Yeah.
Seem like mudshad and carp. Not many perch. Not many yellow perch.
Yeah, I want to touch on that. The yellow perch. I mean, what are you seeing now? You seen anything now?
You don't hardly see none. There used to be, when I first went up there, it was a lot of like juvenile yellow perch. I mean,
let's
hundreds.
And let's even go back. Let's go back 4 years ago. How many yellow perch did you see? You still saw a pretty good bit here. Now we can't harvest them here, correct? They got to go back.
They got to go back.
But at least you can see firsthand yourself.
I can see them.
What's going on.
But they've disappeared. Like 4 years ago, it was a few, but last 2 years, they've just vanished. I mean,
that's what me and Chris were talking about the other day, man. They're just.
I mean, I fish that river every day. I might see 50 fish. I mean, you fish it for 3 months. That's no fish.
Well, why don't you touch on that real quick? Why don't you let people know exactly what you can and what you can't harvest? That way they can understand the exact correlation going on.
I can.
A lot of guys think that you can just take whatever you want. That's not how it is.
Yeah, I can't keep largemouth bass. I have to throw those back, and pretty much the yellow perch and any other fish just by the size limit I can pretty much keep, as long as it's the state size that you can keep. Catfish, perch, white perch. No size on crappie or bluegill or nothing like that.
Right.
So Chip Shannon want to know, are snakeheads obliterating the ecosystem like predicted a few years ago? What do you think about that?
Yeah, they've obliterated that whole river pretty much. I mean, no small fish left at all. I mean, no yellow perch, baby yellow perch, white perch. The white perches last 2 years has took a really big hit in that river. I think the snakeheads they ain't got nothing else to eat. I think they're starting to target the baby white perch.
And that's how I feel. I mean, and they've even said it, once they find something that they like to eat, or they acquire a new taste, that's what they seem to kind of, go for. So.
I think down the road they're going to, because there's going to be nothing left, they're going to start on the mudshed. I guess that'll be the next fish because they're going to have to eat.
That's one thing I really want to keep an eye on. What their source of food is going to be in 5 years.
That's what I say. I mean, There's going to be nothing left.
Because they're either going to have to cannibalize or they're going to have to go after this carp or the mudshed.
Now let me ask you this: you do some rat trapping too, right?
Yeah, you have to do some muskrat trapping.
So are you in agreement with some of the other guys I've talked to on the other side of the county, like say over in the Vienna area, that you're seeing a decline in your muskrats too?
Yeah, the muskrats have kind of declined the last few years. Like, seems the snakeheads, I don't know if they have something to do with it, but I'm pretty sure they got.
Well, that's why I'm asking, because like the last 2 years, when I'm over there fishing the bridges in Vienna and some things like that, I get quite a few of those trappers that stop and talk to me, and that's one of the things they ask me is they're like, "Do you think they're eating these muskrats?"
Yeah.
And we know they are. I mean, we've seen them. We've seen them in the content.
So John Hostocker wanted to know. I think I said that right. Hostocker.
Yeah, Hostocker.
He wants to.
Johnny H.
Do you think a
that.
passive system can be designed that would control snakeheads, meaning any kind of trap that could kind of filter snakeheads out of the ecosystem without impacting the rest of the ecosystem? I think that's what he's asking.
Yeah, I mean, you could do it, but I think it'd be too much money and too much for the filter something like make a not a dam, but like a trap for put a gate across for see what kind of fish is going in that river. I mean, that would probably work, but I think it'd be too much work too much money to make to try to do something like that. I mean,
that's a tough.
I think
one.
Infrastructure. We were talking about that. I mean, what is it going to cost to build that? What is it going to cost to man that? I mean,
it's not a really straight river. It's so many turns.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's so many nooks and crannies. It's hard to really.
It would have been a lot easier to do before the infestation, because they don't necessarily travel up and down. I did go up and down the river, but they don't.
And I would be inclined to say that even if you were to approach a municipality about that's the first thing they're going to say to us. Well, hey, it's too far gone. I mean, why do we want to spend $2 million to build this catcher?
To try.
Exactly.
It's a try.
And you don't even know. That's the thing. Just like you said, it's trial and error. So, and the thing is, you miss one spot. One spot. You give it 5 more years, it's back to where it was.
Well, they're not migratory either, so you can't set it at one end of top or the bottom of the river.
Exactly. So he actually had a second question. He said, "Do you think we need to change recreational or commercial fish regulations in the Blackwater system to compensate for the impact snakeheads are having?"
I'm not really a biologist, so I really can't say, but I really can't answer that question.
I think in a realistic world that it's something we should be paying attention to.
We can pay attention to.
I agree with that.
It's something that should be tracked. But
absolutely.
I don't think we have enough data to make that determination yet.
Not yet, right?
But
it's something that needs to be looked into. I mean, you got to think about. I mean, these are these people's livelihoods. So we're kind of on a double-edged sword here. We've got lives at stake. We've got population at stake. So we don't necessarily know, and we're trying to find out what the right direction to go is without everybody taking a hit in the circle. You know what I mean? We don't want to take money from Justin's family, if he's got to make a paycheck. But at the same token, we do need to maybe take a look and just see what's going on. You know what I mean?
There needs to be the balance of keeping food on the table while also keeping fish in the refuge. So it's definitely, and even if there wasn't snakeheads around, that's something that should be constantly looked at in all systems.
I agree.
And that's part of the reason we're having the problems with the rockfish right now.
Absolutely.
It's something that isn't constantly monitored properly. I don't think this is more of a question for Justin. It's more for us. But Bob Robinson wanted to know. He said, "I hear people are catching snakeheads in the ditches." He said, "I know you can't fish the ditches inside the refuge, but where are these ditches located and legally accessible?"
Okay, so a lot of people ask me this question. I think that I'll handle this one. Inside the refuge, no. The answer is no. You cannot fish. In the
Absolutely
ditch.
not.
Now, if you're out on a county road and you're driving around the county and there's a ditch on the side of the road and it's got water in it and you think you might have a chance to catch a snakehead, I mean, here again, we're back to use your brain. If you don't think you should be there and you don't have a good parking spot or you don't have permission to be there or it looks shady, If it looks shady, don't do it, man. You know what I mean? I mean, go on your way and find another spot. But literally, like, you get down 335, and you get on 336, and you get on Maple Dam, and you get on, Maple Dam's got a lot of refuge property, so again, pay attention to what you're doing there. I try to find, ditches that are connected, and you can find this a lot either by looking on Google Maps or just simply driving and just visually seeing where the ditch goes, what I mean? You can tell whether it went to the river or not. And if I see something like that, then a lot of times if I've got a safe place to park and I have a safe place to be on the side of the road, not to get run over by a crab truck rolling down the highway, making their hustle, you know what I mean? Then I'm going to go ahead and roll dice. I'm going to take a chance, So I tell people, everybody asks about a winter opportunity on topwater, and in the refuge, we can catch fish after 3 or 4 days of 60-degree weather on a mud flat on a topwater lure like a buzzbait or a popper or anything like that. You got to remember, these ditches are not as deep as the river.
Some ditches are.
Some are. Yeah. But I mean, for the most part, most of these ditches I'm talking about are a foot to at most 2 feet, nothing more than that. If you can find these places and we get a run of weather where we're at like, 55, 60 degrees, them ditches get hot enough in 2 days. You could take a little pocket frog from the Wolford store and go catch yourself 20 or 30 snakeheads. You find the right ditch in January and February. You agree? I mean,
you got to find them because they're schooled up the time of year. You find when you find them all.
I know you like to throw your fishing pole too. You just don't throw your nets. So I mean,
Yep, they're all schooled up this time of year.
You find minutes, you're probably going to find.
That's right.
Yeah, and then but the thing about the ditches is a lot of times these fish will hold in that ditch. Once winter hits, they won't leave.
They won't leave.
It's warmer.
So you get those 2 or 3 warm days, and literally, man, you walk up to a ditch and you can watch them. You know where they are because you watch them shoot down the ditch. It's like, oh man, there's one. Let me get ahead of it. Oh yeah, watch this on the top, February, bam. You know what I mean? So
I think the biggest problem with fishing the ditches is finding a place to actually park.
Yeah, I mean that's 9 times out of 10 is the problem.
In southern Dorchester, there's just no shoulder,
and you can't. Again, somebody said, well, I thought I was legal because I parked in front of the Blackwater gate. You cannot pull in the driveway just because you can fit your car before the gate. Okay, it's closed. Blackwater's closed. That driveway is their driveway.
It's the same.
The whole easement thing doesn't come into play with Blackwater.
And it's the same way with farm lanes and people's driveways. They're not parking lots.
Exactly.
And we need to stress that because people are listening to this podcast and we're giving information out. And that's one important thing. You can't trespass, and you can't just take and assume that you can just park somewhere.
Right.
It needs to be a parking place, not somebody's driveway or a farm lane.
Right.
They're private properties.
That's very important. I mean, that's a reason a lot of people are getting so upset about people coming in here. The influx of snakehead fishermen is that people aren't always respectful towards the property owners that are already here.
It's one thing not to know. It's another thing to blatantly just take it upon yourself and say, hey, man, I see this dirt road going down here by this pond.
Exactly.
And I don't see any houses on it, and I don't see any no trespassing signs or road signs. I'm going to ride down here and go fishing. Well, let me tell you what, you might come back to your car and you got 3 tractors blocking you in against the side of the road and you can't go nowhere. And one of them big guys in them dungarees jumps out in his jumpsuit and says, what are you doing? Because that's happened to me before. I ain't kidding you. I was fishing one day at this pond and I pulled on the side of the road and I had been fishing there for 10 years. I had permission from the landowner. But the guy hired a new caretaker and didn't tell him. So I'm fishing this pond. And I come up around the corner and I see a tractor in front of me, a tractor behind me, and a dump truck on the other side, and I can't get off the shoulder because I'm blocked. I'm like, what the hell? No sooner I get to my truck and go to open the door, out from behind a tree steps this scary-looking dude, and he says, what are you doing here, boy? I said, I'm fishing. He goes, you ain't supposed to be here. I said, what do you mean I got permission from so-and-so? He goes, well, he didn't tell me that. I'm calling him right now. So he starts calling the guy, and I'm like, and this dude, I'm waiting for him to pull out a machete, hatchet, shotgun. He looked like that guy, you know what I mean, coming out the woods. And I wasn't safe. I didn't feel safe at all. I was scared to death, right? So the guy never answers the phone. He turns and looks at me, and he goes, you the cops? I said, what do you mean by the cops? He goes, what's that on your dashboard? I said, oh, that's one of my customers. He gave me a little police thing up there in case I ever got pulled over before. He goes, all right, well, Oscar didn't answer the phone, so you get out of here. I said, all right, I'll see you later, man. I was gone. You didn't have to tell me twice. Sure. I mean, this was like Children of the Corn style farm guy with a pitchfork ready to kill me. You know what I'm saying? So just, use your brain, man. That's all. We don't want to read about you in a paper somewhere on the side of the road.
No, absolutely not.
You don't want to come down and get arrested or get a ticket or whatever.
We don't want that for you either, believe me.
So, Kaz, do you have one more thing?
I don't know. Let's see. We talked about bass. We talked about that. So I guess a question that I'd like to answer is, do you think we have a collapse in the fishery?
In the snakehead fishery?
I mean, do you think we have a collapse in the Blackwater fishery as a result of these snakeheads?
Yeah, we got a big collapse. I mean, I'll say another 5 or 6 years. It's are you going to have snakeheads? Is there going to be no other fish in that river? Maybe
from
a few
the way it
shad
looks, right?
or carp. I mean, unless something happens. But the numbers is crazy in that river. The snakeheads, they're eating everything up. You said the muskrats, the bullfrogs. It's all.
I was going to touch the base with that because I didn't know if you did anything with frogs or not.
The ditches. You see in the ditches. Sometimes I just observe, and it's no frogs like it usually. is in places.
You talk about the neck of the woods where you're at.
Yeah.
How quiet is it at night when you walk out?
It's so quiet. You usually hear the frogs. I mean,
you usually can't hear.
You can't hear nothing for them.
Right.
Now it's silent. You walk
just
outside.
Little
spring frogs or whatever they
and stuff, but nothing. No bullfrogs.
Nothing. No bullfrogs like they used to ring your ears when you walked outside.
Oh yeah.
The frogs.
Crayfish. Crayfish. What have you seen in crayfish? You do anything with crayfish or not?
I don't do nothing with crayfish.
Wasn't sure.
Pretty much they worked on those too.
Has it affected eels any?
No, I haven't seen no infection. On the eels.
How about crabs? You being on that side too. I mean, a lot of guys are worried about crabs. Do you think they're eating soft crabs from up here in the refuge in their shed?
I would say they would. I mean, it's right there. It's free food for them. Right. I'm pretty sure they're.
Well, I know Cornflower's got a few pictures for me, and I've got some crab stuff there.
Crab stuff in them. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's free food laying on the bottom. They're going to have a smorgasbord on it.
Doesn't have to be a soft crab for them either.
Nope.
No.
And that's what these pictures have, hard crabs.
Hard crabs. Wow.
Hard crabs.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well.
I mean, I'm pretty good to go. I mean, I just wanted our whole purpose here, okay, is not to, everybody's on us about, it's Blackwater. We understand it's Blackwater, and we're doing what we got to do to protect our Blackwater. But the whole reason we want to do this is, we've had several people in the public eye that have had several different points of view. So I'm not saying, and we're not saying that everybody's view is wrong or anything like that. What we're trying to do is we're trying to show you what's unfolding here in Blackwater and what could very possibly happen anywhere else in the world.
We're trying to get as much information as possible compiled together so that everybody has an idea of exactly what we're dealing with Snakeheads. Because the fact is we just don't have enough information.
I mean, it's not some scare tactic we're throwing out there to make the public, upset. I mean, we're realistically telling you what is going on here.
Well, and we fished this fishery my whole life. I'm 65 years old.
You've been here longer than any of us.
Yeah, I fished Blackwater Bridge before the bridge is theirs there,
He fished it when they had a horse and buggies going across that sucker, and they was bringing in moonshine.
Once one of the county commissioners said that there's like 12 or 13 feet of black top there at Blackwater Bridge. It was like 5 when I was fishing there.
Oh man,
I'm good, man. I got to be honest with you, Justin. I'm so excited we were able to get you here. I've been asking you for a while to come down here and sit down with us.
It's no problem.
I know you're busy.
I'm busy, but I can always make time.
Right, and from all of us, we definitely want to say thank you for taking the time out of your schedule.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah,
no problem.
The main reason we wanted to have you here is so that everybody understands exactly the point of view. Because you're out there every day.
Every day. I'm there for like 4 or 5 months out of the year.
You're seeing exactly what's happening every day. And we're out there, 1 or 2 days a week.
Yeah.
So it's
I'll get out a little more now.
You're still observing something not like I do every day.
Right, exactly.
Wait a minute. One more thing.
Here we go.
The Maryland Snakehead Festival, big dummy.
So go ahead.
Okay, so April 4th, the Maryland Snakehead Festival. Okay, we have figured out the amount of booths that we're going to have available. If you would like to sponsor the event or you would like to get involved with the event, please reach out to us and let us know. We have opportunities for everybody. This is a we effort. We're all working together. It's not a me, Gary, and Eddie effort. This is for you. Okay, we're doing this for the public. Of course, we're doing it to help us too to grow our name, but we're doing this because it needs to be done. Okay, so if you're interested in the festival, we've already got.
We've already got a bunch of vendors.
We have how many tables we have available again, Eddie?
We have 52 booths. That's not including what's already reserved.
Okay.
So we have 52 booths total.
And we've probably had, I don't know, 25, 30 people that have already contacted us. So it's not going to take long to fill up these booths. So we don't want you waiting until March 15th to call me and say, hey, man, can we get a booth? Because let me tell you what, there's a lot of people want to get in on this thing.
This is going to be a family-friendly event. Kids 12 and under, kids 12 and under will be free admission.
Good.
$5 for everybody else for admission. We're going to have some demonstrations of how to handle these fish, how to fillet them, some special guests to do some talks.
Yeah, we do.
What else we got going on there? We've got some giveaways. We got a bunch of vendors that with all kinds of snakehead gear.
Have some raffles,
and all kinds of stuff going on. And this is going to be April 4th, and it's going to be at the Governor's Hall at Sailwinds. And it's going to be from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m.
That's big time, baby.
so mark your calendars, guys. April 4th, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And we're going to be at the Governor's Hall in Sailwinds, the Maryland Snakehead Festival. It's going to be a good time.
No more one more things. I'm done.
You sure?
Give me a kapow. Kapow! All right, I'm done.
All right, everybody. So for Gary, Kaz, myself, Justin, thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.